As you all know, Crash and Spyro have been acquired by Xbox, so I'm going to be making a two-part video talking about 5 reasons the acquisition is good and 5 reasons it's not. Let's talk about it.
Whoa!
What's up guys, Canadian Guy here, and back with another Crash and Spyro video. We are beginning to wind down on the Xbox total takeover over at Activision. We are mostly at a wait and see kind of situation, so until more news and information comes out, these videos will likely be the last that we talk about Xbox buying out Activision and Blizzard, unless of course breaking news comes out. But a lot of people have been giving their hot takes about the situation. Some think this is the best thing to have ever happened to the franchises. Some think that this is an apocalyptic level event happening within the gaming world. But I think the biggest feeling that a lot of people feel is, well, confusion. So as the first part of a two-part video, we're going to be going over 5 reasons the Xbox acquisition is good. Make sure to subscribe to stay up to date for the second video. Number 1. Access to amazing studios and IP. Xbox has been buying new studios along with their IP for the past couple of years. They seemingly are doubling down and investing into the future of the company by dropping an exorbitant amount of cash. I guess having a company that was once owned by the richest man on earth can do that. But with Toys for Bob and Beanox being included with the Activision sale, this means that if they work on any project that's related to Crash and Spyro, they can partner up or ask for assistance from companies that are legendary, like Double Fine or even Rare. Overall, the acquisition is giving the Crash and Spyro studios more resources, tools, and access to talent that they never had access to before. On top of that, insanely popular IPs that Xbox has already established could feature Crash and Spyro elements that would bring more attention to the franchises through brand cross-pollination, like skins in Minecraft, armor pieces in Halo, or even fun Easter eggs in Elder Scrolls. All these things drive engagement to Crash and Spyro, making them likely to become more popular. And let's not mention Xbox's unused IP that some of the other studios might want to dig their hands into, like Banjo-Kazooie. Could you imagine a Toys for Bob Banjo-Kazooie? I gotta make a video about that. Number 2. Lots of money. This sounds ridiculous, but this is a factor that needs to be looked at. Microsoft has so much access to money, it's almost ridiculous. I mean, look, they just bought the company for $70 billion. But what does that mean for Crash and Spyro? Well, if a new Crash Team Racing is released, guess what? Remember that awful peer-to-peer servers that we had before? Well, that money would grant access to dedicated servers. And it just so happens, Xbox has access to some of the best server spaces in the entire world, which means you will actually be able to play online races in CTR and not get yeeted into dead lobbies or DC halfway through a race. That money can also lead to bigger teams, better tools, and more resources, which in turn creates better games. Not only does more money mean better games, but also better marketing. It's no secret that I've stated before that Crash 4's marketing wasn't the greatest. It had a very small marketing window of about 4 months and change, while also not showing up to massive gaming shows like E3 and just sticking to PlayStation's State of Plays. But with a larger marketing fund, games could be announced much earlier, have a longer advertising window, and drive more engagement to the overall games and franchises. We already have seen the crazy talent that both Beanox and Toys for Bob can flex. Now imagine funding more money to that talent. Number 3. Studios work autonomously under Xbox. So, I will be the first to admit, I've been focusing so much on Activision and PlayStation and how they operate internally the past 5 years that I paid very little attention to anything else. So when Xbox acquired Activision, I decided to do some research of my own and also speak to some people privately who have experienced what it was like to work with Xbox. What I learned is nothing secret, because it's plastered all over the internet. Xbox takes an autonomous approach to its studios. Phil doesn't call up a studio, tell them to make a game and have a pitch ready soon, and then spin in his office chair thinking of all the money he's going to make. Xbox approaches each studio and asks them what it is that they want to make, and allows them to determine how long it will take, and then they work around that. They fund the projects and let them get to work. This is further evidenced by the statement that Phil said after the acquisition broke. This means that if Toys for Bob, Beanox, or anyone in the Activision sphere wants to work on a Crash or Spyro game, Xbox will let them. Now, there is a dark flip side to this coin, which I will explain in part 2 of this video, but if there is a want and desire within the studios, it will happen. Number 4, less Call of Duty releases. Yep, CGE's coffee was spiked. He's talking about Call of Duty again. Hear me out though. This does tie into Crash and Spyro. Trust me, just listen. According to multiple sources, there is already a high level of executive talk of Call of Duty no longer being an annual release, but coming out every 2 or 3 years after the following 2 Call of Duties that are currently being worked on. This actually serves 3 purposes. 1, it lightens the workload on the developers. Every year, hundreds of devs are crushing and crunching to get the next Call of Duty done. In order to do this, so many studios have to be involved. Treyarch, Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer, Raven, Radical, High Moon, Beanox, Demonware, and the endless amount of independent contractors. There is so much pressure on these people to get the games done in time that leaves very little time for other work, or even self-care. That's not including the bug fixes that have to be done after the game ships, and all the follow-up polishing patches while also prepping for the next game. Studios can be working on up to 2 to 3 COD titles at the same time. But making the game release every 2 or 3 years allows for the developers to have a better mental attitude and be more relaxed, which leads to the second purpose. It gives the devs more time to make an even better Call of Duty, one with a better story, more polished gameplay, better multiplayer, and overall more content. The workers won't be as pressured and allow them more freedom, and this leads to the third reason: more time for other games. Doing this allows the studios to explore and try other games to make, something different that breaks the mold. Any one of these talented studios could try their hand at a new Crash or Spyro title, or even choose to support another studio who's working on it. Once again, even more talent available to the Crash and Spyro IPs. Number 5. Delays. This one is going to need some explaining. Activision is not one for delays, and if they do delay something, it's typically not very long. So I'm going to use probably one of my favorite games of almost all time as an example: Spyro Reignited Trilogy. Spyro's initial release date was going to be in September, but when it got delayed, it was pushed to November, a 2-month delay. The reason being was that it needed more time to polish and develop. Now, it's no secret, Spyro 1 and most of Spyro 2 is really polished. I say most of Spyro 2 because when you enter Winter Tundra, there's a few buggy spots, but overall it's still good. Not too many complaints here. But Spyro 3 is where things begin to get a little unhinged. Without getting into a long rant about it, Sanzaru, it needed more time to be polished. Probably another 2, maybe 3 months. But why didn't they get that? Well, my assumption is that they would have missed the Christmas and Black Friday season, which, of course, Activision would not want to miss that. Also, the announcement of CTR Nitro Fueled was quite literally around the corner, and they probably didn't want the titles to stack. But Xbox is seemingly more open to delays to make the games just right. Psychonauts 2 was supposed to release in 2018, and Xbox let them work on it for another 3 years before they released in 2021. Then, Halo Infinite was supposed to be a launch game to the Series X. Now, I know there's some interesting things going on with Psychonauts 2 with when they initially were supposed to be an independent studio, and then partway through development they were bought by Xbox, so that definitely can cause a bit of a rift in the development cycle. However, Halo Infinite was supposed to launch with the Series X in November 2020, and it was delayed by over a year. This was the title that was supposed to ship with the Series X, the title that's supposed to be the big bahanga donga to buy an Xbox Series X, and they still allowed it to be delayed by 13 months. Now, I'm not saying that Crash or Spyro games being delayed like 3 or 4 years is a good thing. Too many delays can actually lead to being a hindrance. More on that in a different video. But those examples show that if Xbox is one thing, it's patient. If a Crash or Spyro game needs a bit more time to cook, Xbox will seemingly let it happen, giving us the best game possible. Now, those were 5 reasons that I think that the Xbox acquisition will be great for Crash and Spyro. But what about the bad? Make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for the next video.